Good afternoon, everybody, on this August 24th, 2024, and welcome to Ken's Show and Tell. We are going to do a simple maintenance on this 1969 MGC-GT, which includes changing the oil filter, topping up the SU carburetor dashpots, lubricating the suspension, the steering, and the chassis, topping up the transmission, and topping up the rear differential. We had a 1 1/8 plug here, and we need to take this out in order to drain the oil. I think there's about 8 quarts. With regards to greasing, the MGC has what on the kingpin here, on each kingpin has one here, the upper part, and one right here for the lower part. There's no other grease fittings on here, and same thing over here. One for the upper part right up in here, and one for the lower part right here, and that's it. Now for the drivetrain, you've got one here for the front universal joint on the drive shaft. There it is right there, poking through. And you have one for the rear drive shaft. There it is right here for the rear universal joint and the drive shaft. And the only other spot is right over here, right behind me. The emergency brake cable needs to be greased. And that's it. Fairly simple. So let's go ahead and grease those up. Differential check. Here's the check plug here. And we're not going to drain it. We're just going to see if we've got enough and see if we need to top it all. Alright, it's hand tight loose. So let's just see if I can get it off like this slowly. Nice little plug. Oh yeah. Okay, it's got plenty. See how it came out? We'll just wipe this off and then tighten this thing back on. Next on the list is to lower the car on the ground, change the oil filter out, and then put engine oil in the car. There's the oil filter housing. Just use a 5/8 inch wrench to get that bolt out. Let's give it a tap. There we go. There's what the inside of the housing looks like. Here's the filter. And there's the filter right here. I'll go show you what the new one looks like. Here is the new oil filter for the 69 MGC. Got it from Moss. Filter element oil paper. 950580 is their part number. See how it comes packed. It comes packaged in this sort of interesting paper box. It's kind of a wax paper. There's the filter. It's actually not O-ring, it's an actual gasket, the way it's shaped. Here is the filter. Okay. I love the way it's stitched right along here. Very old school. There's the filter. It's right down there very nicely. And put the housing back on here. Fit it down in that groove. And then put the bolt back in. You don't want to strip it and get it cross-threaded. So just hand tighten it. There it is. Now I'll back it off with my hand and spin it. Make sure it's seated in this thing. It is seated. Okay, now we'll put a wrench on here. Alright, that's done. Now we're going to add our 8 quarts of motor oil. I'm using Valvoline VR1 20W50 motor oil, and this has extra zinc in it for these old push rod engines. So this is a 5-quart container, so we'll put in one of these and then some individual quarts that I have. Now we're going to top off the dash pots and these SU carburetors. It's important to keep the oil level correct in these dash pots for smooth acceleration, for allowing the needles to go up and down. There's a special oil that you can use in here. You can buy from Moss Motors. It says SU dash pot oil, but I've discovered that a 3-in-1 oil or something similar to 3-in-1 works just as well. So all you do is take this off. It just unscrews and you lift it up, and there's the little plunger. And you look down there. Okay, and we're going to fill oil up to the ring down there. So now that we've done this one, just the next thing we're going to do is raise it up and see if we have any obvious leaks. Now we're going to get in the car, start it up, and then after it's warmed up a little bit, then we'll raise it up on the lift and check for any leaks around the work we've just done. This will be a cold start, and so the oil pressure might take a few seconds to pop up because the oil filter canister and oil filter in these cars that are stock do not have a check valve. So the oil filters do not remain full of oil when the engine's off, which is nice when it comes to changing the oil, because you lift the canister out and no oil goes everywhere. So let's go ahead and make sure this thing's in neutral. Pull the choke out, put it on lock. Okay, and let's give it a whirl here. There it comes up. Didn't take it long at all. So not having a check valve was okay. So the stock stuff still works pretty good. So I got it at fast idle at 1500 RPMs. Let's see if we can lower the idle down a little bit here. Let's just see. By lowering the choke down, or at least closing the choke. Alright, are good. I want you to see how smoothly these MGC 6-cylinder engines run. Here it is up on the lift. No shaking. This is at idle. Wonderful engines. In terms of being tough and having lots of longevity. RPM staying, they don't bounce everywhere. Car's not shaking or rattling up on the lift here. Walk around. You look at the engine, just sits there. There's no rock and rolling inside the compartment. So much smoother than MGB. Of course, 6 cylinders are inherently smoother than 4 cylinders anyway. Alright, let's check the transmission oil. Since you have to check the transmission oil through an access dipstick here in the transmission tunnel into the top of the transmission, I find in my case it's a lot easier to just lift the car up on the lift just a little bit, and that allows me to kind of step over this, and then I can kind of sit down on this lift bar and look back in here. So there's a put this light here where you can see, and then there is a plug back in there that I will pull out. It's right back in here. Lift up the carpet, and here it is, the plug. Let me pull it out and show it to you. It's got a, there it is. There's the plug. It comes apart. See, there's the plug right here. Now I've got a zip tie tied to the top of the dipstick because it's easier for me to find it like that, because you can't see anything, and also if I drop it I can retrieve it. So let's just grab onto that thing and pull it out. Okay, do it as straight as you can. Here it comes. Alright, let's look at it. Okay, now throw my finger down it. I can feel, and there's the oil right there. Yeah, you don't want to overfill it because it can interfere. So I understand it can get on the clutch wheel, the oil, but the oil is fine right here. Yeah, right there. Let me dip it in there again, see if we can get a different reading. You gotta kind of reach down with your finger, kind of find the hole. Oh, there we go. See, I've got it in the hole, and I wiggle the dipstick back and forth with that clicking noise. It tells me I've got it inside the transmission. So let's just push it. See, you can see that it's fine. It's got plenty of oil in there, and so we're good to go. If I needed to add oil, I would have used an oil can and reached back in there. It never needs very much. All right.